What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. I am here in sunny Florida. Sunny right now. It's been a little bit cloudy today, a little overcast. We got some storms coming in, but this is Jose Chavez from Z-Man. He's the director of product development, and we're sitting down. We're looking at some of your baits from Z-Man. We're gonna, shoot the stuff for a little bit, talk about these baits. I want to get your perspective on them and maybe some inside knowledge, some behind the scenes on this Z-Man tackle that has come out recently, as well as, I don't know, could I finagle you into some top secret knowledge about what's coming out this year, maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe it's good enough for me. And then after this, we might go hit an airboat. Are we gonna go airboating?
Yeah, I have a buddy that said he's got a little time to do some laps and maybe catch some fish, so.
All right, well, I'm excited for that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk through some of these baits, and you've had your hands on like every single one of these products, right? Like you're the brain behind this.
Kind of. So I have a really good pro team and a really good team at the office that we work with, but I'm basically the guy responsible for, making those, taking those concepts and the things that people want to see in the product and making it come to life in a physical form. So
I love it. And you've had a track record with this, right? So you've been with like 13 Fishing, you've been Savage Gear, and you've got, I don't know, if you had to guess, how many products have you had your hands on over the years?
Oof, a lot. 35 to 40.
35 to 40. So point is, this guy knows what he's doing. Let's talk about the Evo Blades. We don't have any here, but they look like this. Look, it's a picture right there. All right.
Yeah.
So glitter is on half of the lineup, right?
Yep.
Okay, so why glitter?
Well, we thought that glitter could add a different color and flash element into the blade when it's moving, which would make it a little bit different. But one of the things that we kind of figured out during testing of the glitter on the blades was that the sealant that we used to seal the glitter in place protected the paint and the coating from chipping off the blades. So,
okay. So if you guys have ever had the painted chatterbait blades before, especially like on your jackhammers, the green pumpkin paint, the blackout, if you haven't used them a lot like I have, like they chip off. And when that chips off, it's like, it's kind of frustrating. You can color it with a marker. That's my pro tip. That's what I do. It kind of works. But okay, so I didn't think about that. So you put a special coating to keep the glitter on, obviously.
To seal the glitter on there.
And then that keeps the paint as well from chipping. Okay.
That made a substantial difference in paint durability. So instead of like ending up with I fish black and blue here a lot, because I'm in Florida, but instead of ending up with a black, jackhammer or chatterbait with a silver blade after, half a day of fishing, now I still have a black and blue blade.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, that's a good reason, but why else?
Just as a differentiator, really. We just thought it was something different and neat. And I honestly, the advantage that we got on preserving the color and just doing something a little bit different was really the main drive behind that blade and why it stayed that way. Okay. We were really on the fence about it at first, and then I think what really made us decide to stick with it and not remove it was the fact that the color of the blade stayed the color that we intended it to be much, much, much longer.
I love it. Could you potentially put the coating on the blade without the glitter? Would that be weird?
No, we could, but if you notice, anything that we have paint or anything that's not a plating, so plating stays on the blade really well, but when you talked about the green pumpkin ones or the black and blue, that's paint. So whether you're buying it, whatever, chatterbait or bladed jig you're buying, there's no plating that's that color. So people are basically painting those blades, and we used it specifically on the ones that would lose the paint.
Okay, I like it. So like there's the new like fire craw type patterns you got. There's a green pumpkin orange. Yep. Okay. So we got it on that. And is there a black and blue in this?
There is a black and blue.
There is. I don't know if I have it.
And
I might have it.
It's got blue glitter. So it's a black blade with blue glitter.
If I don't have it, I have to go get that. All right. Awesome. So that explains a lot. I think that's really helpful. What else do you want to go through? The Gremlin. The Gremlin.
Yeah. So this is something that Belat kind of came and he said, you know what, I really wish there was an elastic bait that I could Carolina rig, and also that could be versatile, that I could use in many different ways. And so he said a lot of times when he's fishing, he wanted to be able to kind of make quick adjustments or use things for different purposes. So a couple of things we did on the Gremlin is that you have, what I call it, you have a body, you have arms, which are these little guys that are attached, and you can detach them, and you have legs. And so the legs have little curly tails. And so these curly tails are great for a Carolina rigging. They work well on the back of a jig. They work well for, if you wanted to, flip this, you could. The other thing that I kind of like about this guy, and this is kind of the rabbit hole we went down with BLAT and why the segments were designed a specific way. So now if I trim these guys off.
Oh, no way. All right, so like right there, right along the edge. Okay.
Now I have a compact beaver flipping punching bait that works.
That's sick.
Super duper well. If I want it to have be more compact, I can leave that middle tear tab on.
Yep.
If I want it to have a little bit more movement, I can.
Oh, it ends up like that. Look at that.
And have more movement. And then the other part is as you keep working down the system, you can take what I call the legs and get rid of the legs. And now you have a fat-bodied Ned rig that has tiny claws. And if you look at all the research that's been done regarding bass feeding behavior, they tend to they prefer eating small fat craws with tiny claws. So on all the lab testing, they saw that they preferred ones with smaller claws.
Nice.
So, and that's how we came to this. Awesome. So you have a few different options. It's really versatile. Yeah, I fish this thing a lot. Also, like in Florida, we flip and punch with a lot of Senkos, so I can flip and punch with this. The other thing, we made the body a little bit thicker. So one of the complaints that we've heard before is that straight shank hooks didn't hold well in elastic bodies. And so it became a little frustrating. Yeah. Also, that our material was so soft that if it hit wood or some sort of organic material, it tended to stick. So what we did is we really spent a lot of time fine-tuning the thickness of the body, and we adjusted the durometer. Since we're kind of the pioneers in elastic and using this type of stretchy material, we probably have the most control over this material out of anybody out there. So we were really able to fine-tune the durometer of this material. If you notice, this is not nearly as soft as some of the other stuff. We've really been able to fine-tune the durometer to hold the hook well, and to make it not stick to like docks or sticks or laydowns or whatever.
Okay, so explain to the people what durometer means.
Durometer is how soft, or it's really a measure of hardness. Okay. So it's how hard a material is. So these guys are a much firmer durometer than most of our stuff that we make, which is really soft. Okay. I knew that. You guys didn't. I knew it. I didn't. I had no idea. All right. Awesome. I love it. The Gremlin. Next. The other thing I was really excited about are these ZWGs.
Oh, yeah. Just grabbed some of these. Haven't used them yet, but we got this little keeper up here, this guy down here, and a belly weighted. So it's an improved belly weighted EWG. Yep. So what are these things for?
So the nice thing about the ZWG is it has a couple things going for it. So it has this barb in the front and it has this silicone keeper in the back. And so what this does is the barb in the front holds the nose of the bait in place, and the silicone keeper you then push up into the body and it securely holds the back. And so this way, if you're skipping, if you're casting, your plastic is going to stay put instead of sliding around. Right. And it's one of the challenges that we've had with, EWG style hooks in the past is that elastic tended to move a lot on them. So they would foul themselves or kind of slide off the nose. But with this, it kind of eliminated that problem. So you just basically go in through the nose like you would normally, back out, have it back on the keeper. Now that I have material on top of the head, it stays in place.
All right. Yeah, through the hook slot, through the back.
There you go. And so then you take this little silicone bead that's down here, which is already kind of in place. We were adjusting it for the last one. There you go. You slide it up and it will hold the bait where you want it. Nice. So it eliminates the need to texpose or do anything like that.
Because it's just holding in place. So the hook is kind of coming down a little bit into the body.
And that's why we created that little slot. Because sometimes you run into issues if you texpose with these. So that slot's there.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see people looking at this and going like, why is there all this extra stuff on my EWG? But it makes sense. This is kind of genius, especially if you guys have had bait slippage in the past. I think we all have.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what kind of bait you're using, it works. Yeah. So we talk about these little Moletrons. These are kind of intended initially to be a saltwater bait, but they work really well for any application. It basically takes a wedge style tail that we've kind of made our own. It allows you to slow roll things and have a really natural action. So it still displaces a lot of water, but it's still a subtle presentation that fish can find because of how much water it moves.
So one of the questions that we obviously had from a bunch of folks was like, looking at this wedge tail, there's only one wedge tail that exists, and it's a Huddleston. And I got a chance to talk to you. Yeah. We did a deep dive. I did some learning. And we also talked about, like, there's a bunch of different companies making wedge tails, and they all make them kind of subtly different. So how did you guys make yours stand out or be different in your opinion, versus like other brands out there?
In the world of wedge tails, Huddleston has a patent on their wedge tail. So and basically the patent outlines very specifically what they claim to be their intellectual property, and what makes their tail special and why it works well.
Kind of like your patent on your chatterbait attachment.
Yeah,
right?
So everybody can make bladed jigs, but there's a very specific thing that makes ours, we feel, unique, and that makes it work better. And so Huddleston has outlined that, and in that patent it talks about a diamond shaped tail. It talks about kind of surfaces being concave, and it kind of splitting into like that diamond, and how a vortex will interact with the tail and make the tail move. And so we were not able to do any of that. Neither did we believe in intellectual property. We didn't want to do anything that infringed in that. So it took a lot of research and development to come up with a shape that would have that natural slow speed swimming action without infringing on their intellectual property. And the reason why you haven't seen a whole lot of brands having a tail like that's the wedge tail, that swims like that, is because it's very difficult to make, and Huddleston really nailed a lot of the things that makes their tail unique. And so, as being people who believe in intellectual property, we looked at what they laid out to be their property and said, okay, how can we make what we wish existed in a elastic bait? And the properties are elastic are totally different. So I think if you were making this out of a different material, it would have a different swimming action, but based on our material, we dialed in the tail to have the ideal swimming action that we were happy with.
I like it.
That's how it kind of all worked.
I mean, we've talked about it on previous videos, and then we did a follow-up video where I actually like zoomed in and pointed it out, and I was like, okay, now I see where the difference is. And then there's like, people also point out like the Savage Gear Pulse Tail, which also has like kind of a channel. I mean, you were a part of that, so like you know it, but it was kind of a channel on the Savage Gear Pulse Tail. You mentioned the diamond shaped kind of pattern of the Huddleston, and if you guys look at those tails, you can see that they do differ in those ways.
Yeah, there are differences about it, and that's like kind of like a topic where like I think like it's important to have innovation in fishing, and then you get into, for example, there's an argument that this is a copy of a Huddleston. Well, what about topwater baits? You know, the Spook was the original walking topwater. Why is everyone not upset about all the other topwaters that come out?
There's
like
a lot.
Or the Rattle Trap. The Rattle Trap was the original lipless crankbait. But, you know, so I think another example that I gave you before is digital cameras. Kodak made the first digital camera. But is it bad that Nikon and Sony and Canon have made digital cameras?
No.
I think all of this patents allow people to have, 15 to 20 years of exclusivity with that intellectual property to themselves, which gives them an opportunity to capitalize from that innovation. But I think on the other sense, like creating demand and opening new areas of the market and having companies compete and making their own version of what they wish existed without, using someone else's protected intellectual property is good for everybody, because we keep making better and newer and cooler stuff that is more effective. So I think like from the sense of making the exact same thing as somebody else makes and just like rebranding it and being like, hey, this is our version of that because we want a piece of their, market share. That's not really our philosophy. Our philosophy is let's make the stuff that as anglers we wish existed. Yes. And I think if that's the reason driving the decisions for which we make product, then, we sleep well at night with that decision. So
fair enough, I would say. And obviously we did a video on copy baits. We talked about a whole bunch of different brands, kind of our perspective on it. And yeah, I mean, I would agree. And I think that the majority of our audience also agrees. For the big thing for us is, and I think you and I had a talk on the phone one time, it's the carbon copy. That's the problem. It's when credit is given where credit's due, and when the differentiation is like something appealing to the angler of something that they wanted to exist that doesn't currently exist, I'm good with it. But when you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna make exactly that bait with my name on it, no, I'm not about that.
And as we fish stuff, we find things that are like, man, I really like this, but I wish it could do this, or I really like that, but I wish it was more like that. So those little nuances kind of lead you to, finding the stuff you wish existed. And I think those are compelling reasons to enter categories or make lures. But if it's just to take a piece of somebody's sales, then
I like this bait, but I wish it had this brand name on it. Like that's not what we're doing here. So I love that. I love the transparency too. That's awesome.
All right, so Here you have the Govius. So this is basically a swim bait structure jig. There are others like it in the market. So the Dark Sleeper is probably the most well-known one there is here. But this is an example of a bait that we think the Dark Sleeper is a great lure. We just wish...
Until it falls apart entirely after one fish.
We wish
maybe two.
A different version existed.
Yeah.
So
we literally, Paul and I had a day, we fished a river, really rocky section of river. We fished a Dark Sleeper, just one, right, mind you, for an hour. And in that hour, it lost its eyes, it lost its tail. We still kept fishing it. Yeah. And we caught 2 fish on it total. And it was just completely, I still have it on a shelf at my house. So it died entirely. And I agree with you. Like, I always wanted, I love that bait. I do love it. And I just want it to be indestructible.
Yeah. And we give credit that they did a great job with that bait. There's just a version of it we wish existed. And so that's why we made the Govius. And a couple things that you kind of touched on is we painted on the eyes. So the eyes do not fall off. It's made out of elastic, so the tail is not going to fall off. And then we kind of changed a few things about the hook and some other things. So if you notice, for one, it has a really deep hook slot. So you're not able to do that with other baits. But basically what this does is it leaves a little bit of gap here at the top, but it's enough to catch the fish's mouth. And then it's very easy for the weight of that fish to push the body out of the way. And then the way the hook is designed, so you see how the furthest part on the bend is back here. So as you apply pressure, it's going to shift the fish down to the bottom of the bend of the hook, and it'll let it stay hooked a lot better.
Nice. So landing ratio improvement, yeah? Oh, dang. This is not something we pointed out on that video that we did. And now I'm looking at it and dang, like all the way down to the weight there. You guys can see the head weight. That's awesome.
And then the other little nuance is that in terms of like how aggressive the kicking action is. So we kind of added this little fin in the back, and it's not just for it to look cool. So this little fin in the back kind of like deadens and slows down the movement. So you still get a crisp little tail action, but this is more of like a finessey presentation. If you want this thing to kick harder, then all you'd have to do is take your scissors and you clip that back tail off. And now you're removing the resistance that's preventing this tail from kicking, and you have a much more aggressive style tail. So it lets you fine tune it. You could do it to the extent that you remove both of these too and make it even like a looser, faster moving tail, because this is essentially a paddle that stops it from moving. So you could really dial in how aggressive the tail kicking action is. And basically it is a structure swim bait. We're not claiming we reinvented the wheel. We didn't, but we just made a version of it that we wish existed, and we think our consumer base and our customers wish it existed as well, and we put it out there to see what they think.
That is something I also didn't. Look at all the inside tips you guys are getting on this video. This is insane. So you need scissors, by the way. All the Z-Man stuff, get scissors.
Get scissors, yeah.
You will be happy. Also love the case as well. I know the Dark Sleeper has something similar, but having something like this, especially with a Z-Man Elastec, makes such a big difference, because now I keep it in one of my Buzzbee tackle boxes next to all my other swim baits. But because it's in there, I don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. So our product, it like reacts with standard soft plastic. So we made these little push tab systems, so you could take this, and it's made to where you could just throw this in a tackle box and it will fit in your tackle box. So you can just throw it in your tackle box and store it however you want. Yeah,
and I've posted pictures of that on Instagram. You guys can see. I can prove it. I've got one like a Buzzbee deep, so like you got a Flambeau deep here. If you have like your deep tackle box, you can fit a bunch of these in one little spot. Wait, do you have a bunch in there? You do.
I do.
Look at this.
I have a bunch, but they're not. They're something else. So these are our Moletrons.
But there you go. You can just pack them up in here. It's insane.
Yep. So love it. Moletrons are also using this wedge tail. So it's a wedge tail style bait.
So these are pre-rigged versus the ones you were showing us a second ago, non-rigged.
So this is a pre-rigged bait. It's got a line through harness in the back.
It's insane.
So basically what this does is when you hook a fish and it starts, either swimming fast or jumping, it allows the body to slide away from the hook, and then it removes their ability to use the weight of the hook or weight of the lure to throw the hook. So you're basically connected to a heavy duty J hook at that point. And your landing ratio increases quite a bit. The other advantage of it is that especially where we fish these, we're crawling it over logs and, you know, bars and shell bars and all sorts of stuff. And this top hook really prevents it from getting like snagged on the bottom. So it'll bump off of rocks and everything quite well. Even like jetties or like riprap, because of this round nose, it really is very weedless or very snag proof.
Oh, nice.
Also, it's got flat sides. So if you try skipping this, it skips like a dream.
Oh, sweet.
It skips super well. One of the things, it's got an embedded rattle.
I was wondering about that.
That makes a little bit of noise. So the rattle only makes noise in the rattle is placed horizontally in the bait. So it makes noise when you pop the bait. If you wanted it to make noise all the time, there's a slot in the tail where you could put a rattle inside, or you can add scent into it that would keep it going. I know some people in really dirty water, they'll take micro glow sticks and stick a micro glow stick in the tail.
I had no idea about any of this.
And again, it's got painted eyes, so your eyes don't fall off. That's one of the things that drives me crazy with like swim baits is when the eyes fall off. I'm like, oh man, you got this beautiful swim bait and the eyes are so important. And then the first thing that happens after you fish a little bit is you have no more eyes.
Immediately.
So it kind of nullifies, and even in my opinion, it moves you backwards in appeal to a fish. If you think eyes are important and that's why you're buying the bait, and then your eyes fall off immediately, you almost like just erase that advantage. So it's one of the things that drives me nuts. And then we did kind of like a combination of like hand painted and we printed on some of the detail that, you know, make it a little more realistic. So nice. One of the other nice things about this package, we took it a step further with these guys. I've fished a lot of these style baits and other style, you know, big swim baits. And the things that drives me crazy, especially like in the summer when things warm up, is that if you leave this on your rod and it's hot and the tail's like bent and you try to use it like a few hours later, sometimes it'll get memory. Whether it happens in plastisol baits, it happens in our baits. It's just a problem that happens. So what we did with this guy is that we created a little tear tab for the hook area. So you could tear away. Just make sure that doesn't end up in the water. You can tear away this section. And if you notice in the front, it also has a little tear right there. So now I can store this bait on my rod. The line can sit through the front and the hook is exposed. So I can put this on a bait keeper on my fishing rod and kind of store it on my fishing rod while in use. So I don't have to cut it off and then, you know, so that the bait doesn't get damaged. I can keep this on my rod like this with the clam pack. Whoa! So now, like as this is sitting in your boat, you don't have to worry about it getting deformed because everything is securely in place. And because of the little snaps on the sides, like it won't come off. Like this clam pack is on here. I could probably cast this and it'll stay on. So these are our TRD Gobies. So we basically really liked that Gobius profile and we decided to make a version that we could fish in a finesse presentation on any sort of hook that you want to fish it at. So you could put a Ned head on this. I really like the Ned football jigs that we make, the finesse football jigs. Probably my favorite way to fish it. But it's essentially the same thing. It's got the little tab on the back that you could cut off to make it swim a little more. It has these areas that you could cut off to make it more aggressive. And it's like a super finessey little goby presentation that you can, you know, fish in a variety of different ways. You could drop shot it. You could, you know, fish it on those jig heads like we said. And really, you know, you have a lot of flexibility on how you fish this. For anybody that likes, you know, micro finesse presentations, this is our micro shads head. And so one of the things that we did here is that we have a nice modern kind of like minnow realistic presentation with 3D holographic eyes, and also we have the tie point that's quite a bit back compared to the traditional jig head. So what that does is it lets it pendulum really well when you're fishing forward facing sonar or just fishing in general. It tends to hold its place even with the heavier weight. So if you drop this on slack line, it'll fall quickly, and as soon as you get tight on it, it's going to slow down its progress so you can stay in the strike zone a little bit better. Nice. So one of the things we have is we have this little lead keeper with the wire guard, which is something similar as before.
When did this come out?
At ICAST.
I gotta pay attention. What bait is that? It's a secret.
It's a secret. So
you didn't see anything.
Yeah.
This is a prototype?
This is a prototype. So this is part of our prototype process.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about this one a little bit later in the year. But this is like a really little finesse swim bait that we're working on.
Nice.
That's got that same wedge style tail and would be really good for fishing on a variety of different jig heads.
Yeah.
Including, you know, drop shotting and many other things, but I'll just kind of leave it at that.
BFS, drop shot,
BFS, yeah.
going down.
Yeah.
It's fine. No pictures, and Paul can't see it.
For a little bit.
Too bad, dork. Any other hot top secrets that you want to share with us that won't get you fired?
I think that's really the extent of what I brought. So.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, but thanks for taking the time to talk, and
yeah, man.
hopefully we can go do some fishing here soon.
We need to go fish. So thank you so much to Jose for taking the time today to hang out, to talk about these baits. This has been awesome. I learned a lot today. I learned a lot of secrets that I didn't know about, even though I've had some of these baits in hand for months now. Like, I had no idea. So I'm learning things. Hopefully you guys are too, and this was beneficial to you. If it was, be sure to smash that like and subscribe and go buy some Z-Man baits. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Bye.
Perfect.
Yeah. There we go. Finally. Finally. There we go. Baby.
No, he does not.
No TV drag. Come on, baby.
Feels decent. About time I get to play. Oh yeah, buddy. Looks decent to me, an unknowing freshwater angler. Just ripping that drag. Oh my god. Oh yeah.
Oh, dude,
No.
big black drum.
Yeah.
On
I just saw the
freaking
stripes.
whitebait, dude, no way. What?
Dude,
Oh no.
he identifies it.
Dude, what the? I've never seen somebody catch one on whitebait. What the heck?
Bro, I'm just here to mess things up. You know how it is. Come here, buddy.
Head up when I get to that under and just drop it.
Yep. He's not.
What?
What are you doing, my guy?
Believe it or not, that's like one of the easier fighting events.
Really? Well, I would love a red. Oh, yeah. That is
Drumming around.
not bad. Ready? There you go. Woohoo! Yay! I caught a fish. Look at me go. It's been a long time since I've done that. That's how it feels, man. When the last time you fished was November. Let it get close enough. Oh, God. He just went for my bait. Right after I said,
Oh yeah, you want to punch me? I got you.
come close up. I'll show you. What the hell? Homie's out of his mind. Can you seriously? What the frick? I'm going to, because he's hitting me as I cast. What's up, nerds? I'm here on a airboat, which is a first for me, and I've got Captain Wayne here, right? You want to give everybody a little spiel about what you guys do?
We do all inshore airboat and bayboat charters. Springtime's mainly geared towards snook, but this time of year, definitely airboat's the way to go. Tides get super low, so we like to run the airboat so we can get to where nobody can. So.
Nobody but you with this beast.
That's right.
So go check out That Dude Fishing Charters, because I had a blast. And if you guys are in the Tampa Bay area, you should as well.